Well, Damon, that's the first loss of the 2025 college football season for Arizona. It was really all in front of us. An undefeated season, a Big 12 championship, Noah Fifita, his number will be retired, a la Shadur Sanders. And yet here we are, reacting to a blowout road loss in Arizona's first Big 12 game of the 2025 season.
Welcome on in, everybody, to the AZ Wildcats podcast. A little bit of more monotone, sad vibes here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Kevin, brought to you live from Studio K by our friends at Circle K. And boy, did I not miss that music. We haven't heard that music since, I think, the Duke game, the Duke elimination, the Sweet 16 game. Tough one, absolutely tough one for the Wildcats as they lose this one 39-14 to the Iowa State Cyclones, number 14 team in the country, and are handed a massive, major reality check in the process. Shout out to everyone who is here in the chat to either cope with us, cry with us, go through group therapy with us, and even shout out to you nasty, disgusting perverts who are here to attack me and come after me for the Arizona Wildcats losing their first football game of 2025. You guys are gross. You guys all know you're gross. And I won't stand for it, but I appreciate you guys being here anyways. Kevin, this was a tough one. Yeah, man. What else is, I mean, we're going to talk about it all show long, but this was a real reality check for the Wildcats tonight.
I tweeted it, but I think it's the only logical reaction to this game, right? It's not crazy that Arizona lost this game. That is not a crazy thing to say. But what is truly disappointing is that they did not seem prepared properly for this challenge of having Iowa State on the road. And, you know, obviously I picked Arizona to win this game, but like I said in the pregame show, it's really one of those things where if Arizona shows up in this game in the ways in which they needed to, it at least could have been a competitive matchup. And, I mean, literally from the first kickoff, it was a problem for Arizona.
Yeah.
And, it was just very disappointing performance from the Arizona Wildcats. And hats off to Iowa State. That is a great team that they have over there in Ames, a great environment for the whiteout as well. Our guy Justin Spears is out there for the tailgate. So not taking anything away from Iowa State in this one, but truly a disappointing performance from Arizona. We're going to get into the special teams. That was a complete mess. We're going to get into the O-line. That was actually pretty good today.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into Noah Fifita, who was simply off target. And that's not slander to say that, right? I think you know what I mean? We're going to get into that as well. But Damon, my instant takeaway was that this was a disappointing performance in terms of preparation for Arizona. What is your instant takeaway from this one?
My instant takeaway is that this team is not what maybe I'm not going to say that we thought that they could be, because I don't think I necessarily even made that jump ever. Kevin, maybe you leaned a little bit more optimistic than I did, but I still think that you were a little bit more reserved in terms of being like, man, this team could really shock the Big 12 like ASU last season, like what Danny Gonzalez has been saying. And, I think that's coach speak. He has to say whatever he has to say. But mostly I think that this just showed me that this team is, about what we thought they were all off season long, Kevin. And that's a 6-win, 7-win maybe football team that is, merely taking the next step from being a disaster in 2024 to being competent in 2025. And I know tonight didn't look competent, but lots of factors that go into that. Iowa State is very good. That road environment is absolutely insane. Like, I don't think that this means Arizona is a unmitigated disaster for the rest of the season. Granted, I think now this Oklahoma State game next week is about as must win as it possibly could get, because if you lose that one, what game will you realistically win the rest of the way? But this was just the type of loss that I think like just really tells you like, hey man, you guys and the ASUs and the TCUs and the the Baylors and the, Texas Techs and the Utahs of this conference they're just a lot better.
Yeah, and I think, like you said in the title of this stream and like you said in the thumbnail of this stream, it was a reality check, right, for not only Arizona as a roster but for the fan base as well. And I think that there is a lot of, coming into this game, there was a lot of hope, right, because you are undefeated. You have I know this is part of the narrative in a negative way with Arizona, but I think it's also what led into some of the hope with this. You hadn't played anybody that could tell you otherwise yet, right? You had not yet gone through that real test. You have now gone through that real test, and it chewed you up and spit you out in a lot of different ways, Damon. And now, if you're an Arizona fan, I know that it feels really bad right now, but the schedule is favorable.
It feels about as bad as it could.
Because it was about as bad as it could have been tonight. But in general, the schedule is incredibly favorable. It was favorable before tonight, and it'll be favorable after tonight. They still have an incredibly high chance of going bowling if they can control the controllables, but tonight was really bad. And I think, Damon, unless you have more live reaction, I want to get right into that special teams because quite literally it's what was the difference in this game. There were a lot of differences in this game, but the one that I think really snowballed everything and started it from literally the kickoff was the lack of competency on special teams, Damon.
Yeah, the special teams is a disaster, Kevin. I don't think that there's really much else to say about it. And Kevin, me and you were talking about Craig Nyvar and as the special teams coordinator. What did we do this offseason? And like, this is one of those things I think with what me and you do, Kevin, where we have to kind of toe a line where it's like, we can't like outright get personal and nor should we, but like, I don't know what went on this offseason, this spring, this fall camp in terms of special teams, because it looks like a disaster from every single angle. If you're talking the return game, you almost fumbled the opening kickoff. I know he's down. I get it. But like that was almost writing on the wall right then and there. The field goal unit continues to be an unmitigated disaster. The punt, I guess it progressed. The punting progressed as the game went on, and Isaac Lovison got to kind of grow into the role a little bit more so. But like, man, this special teams is debilitating. And like, I'm not to say that Arizona would have gone out there and won this game, but I definitely think it could have been a lot more competitive if this special teams just didn't roll over and die from the opening kickoff, because we're talking fumble to just kind of be a momentum loser. And I know that it wasn't considered, like it got brought back, it got overturned, but real momentum loser on that fumble. You missed the field goal on the opening kick with the opportunity to go up 3-0. And then Iowa State goes down and like scores very easily. But not only that, they run a fake PAT and it works with ease, right? Like, and now it's 8-0 and your special teams has made 3 mistakes in about, I don't know, what are we talking? Like 17 plays of football? I mean, you just can't have that, dude. And good football teams have special teams units that don't lose them games. And that's exactly what Arizona's special teams has at times done and at other times tried to do, like in the Kansas State game. Yeah,
and you mentioned that 2-point conversion on the Iowa State touchdown after the funky Cole Medina. We can't even call him that still. After the Michael Salgado Medina missed field goal on the awful snap on that, field goal attempt there, Damon. That's an 11-point swing, right? Missing that field goal, having the bad snap on that field goal operation is an 11-point swing. Because you miss those 3 points, Iowa State goes down, gets 8 on top of it, and now you're behind the 8 ball in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Because you got the ball first with an opportunity to set the tone, show Iowa State, hey, this offense mean business. Seth Daggy's whole, MO is like, we put the ball down, we try to score, and they put the ball down, they tried to score. They happened only but twice tonight, right? And so, yeah, it was a very, very tough performance in the special teams room. It was an unacceptable performance from the special teams unit. And we said that all week coming into this game. There were 2 main areas of concern for Arizona coming into this game, besides obviously the skill discrepancy between Iowa State roster and Arizona's roster was, of the controllables, the offensive line, which, hey, they played a lot better tonight. They did not cost you at all. In fact, I think we can talk about it later, but they were really, really good tonight. And then the second one was the special teams. And it did not at all get cleaned up. In fact, it got worse.
Yeah.
It cost you this game. And Noah Fifita made mistakes. Wide receivers made mistakes. You know what I mean? Defensively, there were missed coverages in this game, but the special teams really, really killed you in this. If you're Arizona, It took you from a place of, you know what, we made some mistakes in this game. Iowa State's out ahead of it. We can come back to we have no chance in this game from the jump because we don't have the net that is our special teams, right? And that it's really tough. And in stark contrast to where Iowa State, like you said, is running trick plays, and they got tight ends throwing the ball, and everything's working for Iowa State. And you can't even get a field goal to go if you're Arizona.
It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to for me. I like kickers are one thing. Not every team in college has a good kicker. I think that, you can, it's understandable, right? Like sometimes a guy looks great in high school when the pressure's not on him, and doesn't look so good when he's in a stadium of 50,000 crazy Iowa State fans, Iowa natives, I meant to say.
Iowans.
Definitely not Iowa fans. But like it's a different environment, no doubt about it. What is unacceptable is having a long snapper that you can't trust. And it's a long snapper that's going to consistently hurt your team is so insanely debilitating to a big time college football team, because it should be a foregone conclusion that the long snap is going to be accurate, that aspect of the special teams game is not going to be a problem. And there are so many long snappers out there that can do this at any level. And it's been a problem through 4 games now. We've seen it consistently. I think the holds have been pretty good. I mean, and I'm speaking from not a place of pure knowledge. Like maybe Craig Nyvar has a different view on this, but from my opinion, Ian Wagner's holds have been pretty solid given what he's had to work with from a snapping standpoint. The long snaps have been terrible, and the kicks have been very, very bad as well. And it leads to you having a sub 50% kicking unit, and you just can't have it. And I saw Nan 1 ounce or whatever his name is up there, be like, you guys are talking about special teams after a 25-point loss. Yeah, man. We watched the game. Did you? The special teams was terrible, and it put you behind the 8 ball from the jump, from the absolute jump. And that's why we're talking about it first, is because chronologically it was the first thing that screwed you in this football game.
No, 1,000%. We can get to your Damon's doghouse right now because, spoiler alert.
Let's just do it.
It's Craig Nyvar, right? And I
Who
mean,
else?
As you already alluded to, Damon, right? This special teams unit, there were a variety of reasons as to why you lost this football game. And to Nan's point, there's a variety of reasons as to why there was a 25-point discrepancy in this game. But from play one, not even from play one, from the kickoff, your special teams was putting you behind the 8 ball, right? I'm saying that you didn't even get to run a play before your special teams had already put you behind the 8 ball. And then at the end of that drive that you actually put together after the messed up kickoff, MSM missed the field goal on a bad long snap. And it's just one of those things where as soon as the game started, if you're playing a team that is above your level like Iowa State, you can't leave points on the board on your first drive. You can't have any errors on any kickoffs at any point, right? So, yes, the special teams is not why there is a 25-point discrepancy, but the special teams is why Arizona was playing behind the 8 ball for 100% of the game, right?
100%.
Even though you got the ball first. So, yeah, that is definitely why Craig Nyvar ends up in our doghouse, as we've already alluded to for the majority of this, podcast thus far, right? And it like I said, we're going to get to criticizing other parts of this loss as well and talking about what they actually did well, but we had to probably start with this special teams unit because it was a mess in all phases tonight, the special teams. It was a mess.
I'll say it again. I don't know what Craig Nyvar was doing all offseason, how in the spring you could look at the kicking game and the long snapping game that you have in front of you and say to yourself, I feel comfortable not adding any players to this roster. Because that's the exact type of position, Kevin, where you could find a difference maker between the spring and fall portals. That's the type of position where there's someone out there that could help this team. And Arizona, by all accounts, just did not do it. Maybe they got out recruited. I mean, we're not privy to any of that stuff, but man, the special teams unit, it feels like it's going to be one that we're going to be talking about all season long, Kevin, in terms of this special teams unit is just taking points off the board and putting points on the board for the opponent. But I think with that being said, it's time to move on from the special teams, and we'll get into kind of the Noah Fifita offensive side of things, because I think that's what everybody really wants to talk about. Just not a lot, Kevin, from your passing attack tonight. The running game looked good. I know that was one of those things that we kind of had highlighted as hey, can this running game and how good they could be tonight, how efficient they could be tonight, could be huge in terms of Arizona's offensive output. Just make sure that Noah Fifita isn't, they're just not dropping back a million people into coverage. I know Arizona was behind the 8 ball, as we've been talking about, where they had to throw a lot more. They had to be a lot more pass heavy. But I also think that this run game did their job tonight, and the pass game just flat out didn't. The passing game in Noah Fifita and the pass catchers in particular really let this team down.
Yeah, and like I've already alluded to, like there's one 101 football level, right, recipe for an upset, and that is controlling the clock, having an efficient run game, and not turning the ball over, right? Arizona did not check any of those boxes, right? They had the efficient run game, but because you're playing from behind the 8 ball for the majority of the game, you can't heavily rely on that the way you might want to if you're a Seth Dagey, right? And so now Noah Fifita is forced into a position where he has to throw the ball downfield, and while he can do that, guess what? Iowa State knew that he was going to have to do that because they're winning the game by as many points as they are. It really put Noah Fifita into a foxhole where, like, yes, the running game could have been a lot better today, even though it was effective. Like, it didn't help the pass game, which, as you alluded to, the receivers and Noah Fifita were completely out of sync today, right? And I know that you said this on Twitter already, and people are, I think, doing that thing where you either blame one party or the other, but it was a complete one hand washing the other with this passing game, right? Noah Fifita's throwing it 3 feet behind guys, and the guys aren't stepping up to make spectacular plays, and they're not really expected to do that on a play-in, play-out basis. But we really didn't see anybody in the wide receiver room step up, put a hand up, and say, you know what? I'm making a play today. You know what? We don't actually have a defined number one. You know what I want to do today? Put my name in the ring. Put my hat in the ring to be the number one guy on this team. We were talking about Chris Hunter, right? As you and I were watching this game, in terms of what he had an opportunity to do coming into this game is really cement himself as, hey, you know what? Like, I know I haven't played too much so far this year, but that's because I really am one of these top 2 guys, and we haven't had to flex this muscle yet. But he didn't look like one of the top 2 guys on this team tonight. Like,
that's the thing for me, Kevin, and I don't mean to cut you off, but that's the exact point I wanted to hit on. Was it felt like they shelved Chris Hudson and Chris Hunter for the first 3 games of this season, and was that the right call? Looking back on it, because this was a sloppy game from, and I know Chris Hudson, like, we're going to give him some plaudits because I think Chris Hudson ended up having a pretty good performance, but early on, he wasn't great either. And Chris Hunter had a rough night, in my opinion. Just 5 catches on 10 targets for Chris Hudson tonight, Kevin, including a horrible drop like inside the 5-yard line there that led to a Noah Fifita interception just a play later. And I'm not saying that like that excuses that bad Fifita throw, but like never should have been in that situation to begin with. How rusty these top targets looked with their quarterback tonight has me thinking, like, why did we treat these first 3 games like the preseason instead of actually treating them like legit platforms to be better throughout the rest of the season? Because now it seems like they have to build chemistry in Big 12 conference play. And thankfully you have Oklahoma State next week, but I don't know, man. I think that maybe they were a little bit too lackluster with these guys early on in the season, and it showed.
I think so too. And I think like this isn't a situation where like this is some sort of hot take, right? But I do think when you don't have a cemented number one guy, you got to get people reps, and you got to define that early. Like we've alluded to in several different contexts, right? Like you haven't played an impressive team as of yet. You had 3 games of pretty much what do we have in our own room, right? And I think like to not give Chris Hudson, who I believe Chris Hudson was dealing with like a training camp injury, so that kind of plays into the context here. But for Chris Hunter specifically, you got to get him reps, right? This is the person who himself said he feels like he left yards on the table last season. He left an opportunity to really take hold in this receiver room last season. I want to see that from game 1, right? And this is all hindsight now, right? Like, let's say Chris Hunter came out and had a decent game today and Arizona still got blown out. Like, maybe we're not saying this, but I do think it's a valid conversation to have of like, if you don't have a number one receiver, like, is there really, are you in a place to shelve guys, right? Like, I don't think that Arizona is in a place to shelve guys. I also think, and this was a conversation that was, going around Twitter as well, like what is going on early in the season is not what you have later in conference play. Right. So like you and I get on this podcast and we like to talk about the wide receiver room on this team as being versatile, deep. You got a bunch of speed in there. And we've seen progressively game by game, the advantage that Arizona's had in the receiving core has just dropped off. Is exponentially the right word? Can you drop off exponentially as well as rise exponentially? I would assume so. It dropped off exponentially, right? Because you had like you're evening the talent level, right? The depth that we thought we had in this Arizona Wildcats wide receiver room. It's still there to an extent. You still have options. You still have playmakers. Gio Richardson even got a target as well tonight. Like, right? So it's not like all doom and gloom in the wide receiver room, but it's certainly not what we thought we had. in the wide receiver room. And I think maybe we could have learned that a little bit early, to your point, if we had seen Chris Hunter and Chris Hudson a little earlier. And maybe they would have played better, specifically Chris Hunter tonight, if he was able to shake some of that rust off.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And from the Iowa State side of things, they didn't really have to throw the ball all that much, Kevin. They obviously had a very sustained lead, but on just 14 completions, Rocco Becht had 243 yards.
Yikes.
I mean, it's about as efficient as it gets. You know, they're from their leading pass catchers. Chase Sowell had 4 catches for 146 yards. Eskilston, I if I heard the broadcast person say it, I'd be able to say it right away. But I'm reading it; it's a tough one.
I think you did well.
It's a tough one. 3 catches for 54 yards, and on the Arizona side of things, I mean, looking through these receivers, Arizona threw the football a ton tonight, 48 times, 28 times more than Rocco Becht did, Kevin. But 6 catches for 67 and a touchdown for Chris Hudson, 5 for 59 on 10 targets for Chris Hunter. Nunu Watley had 4 catches for 27 yards on 5 targets and a really bad yards after catch attempt on a 4th down in which he started trying to run east-west across the field instead of converting on a 4th down conversion. Another awful play. I thought Sam Olsen was actually pretty good when his name was called upon tonight, Kevin. Didn't hear his name all that much, though. 4 catches, 24 yards. Luke Wysong, 3 for 31. Pretty, I think, typical Luke Wysong performance. And then Trey Spivey, 2 catches, 10 yards, a touchdown. That's pretty much it. Isaiah Mizell, Brandon Phelps, each get in on a catch. Kean Burnett, we see him for the first time. Gio Richardson as well. That's the other aspect of this that I also am wondering, and I know they threw a ton of passes, but is Arizona almost using too many pass catchers as well? Like, I know that was kind of what they were hanging their hat on all offseason. You ask Coach Daigie in the offseason, what's special about your offense? He'd say the amount of weaponry that we have, the people that we can throw the ball to from a skill position standpoint, hand the ball off to as well, that was the strength of this team. I almost think that they're like trying to dive into that too much by playing like 9 different receivers. And it's like, man, I just need Chris Hudson and Chris Hunter and Trey Spivey and Luke Wysong to get on the same page as Noah Fifita. It'll be Gio Richardson and Isaiah Mizell's time in the future. You know what I mean? Right now, I think what we're seeing is that these more veteran guys are just not playing up to snuff yet because they've been shelved all season long.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think like when you bring that up specifically, I don't know if it's, something that they're leaning too much into, Damon, but I also think it's a byproduct of, ironically, the other side of the positivity coin, right? Where you have so many guys that are around the same level, right? Can you really be like, yeah, I'm gonna give Luke Wysong less touches than a Nunu Watley?
Yeah.
When in reality they've shown that they're right now at about the same level in a lot of ways, right? And so I don't know if Arizona is leaning too much into their depth as much as they are just not able to make the discrepancies between the skill levels of the receivers on the roster. It just feels like they're at all about the same level, and it's hard to be like, hey, we need to give Chris Hudson less touches than this person, even though they've produced about the same amount, right? So it could be a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, but I do think it's more so a byproduct of having guys all around the same skill level, right?
Yeah, I do too. I'm just trying to figure out what's wrong, what's missing, what's the broken link here, in the chain, because clearly something's not working right. And I think that this was so reminiscent of a 2024 Arizona Wildcats loss, just from the standpoint of throwing the football all over the place. The other team allowed to pin their ears back, drop a ton of people into coverage because what's coming. The run game was working effectively, and part of that is Iowa State was up the entire time, right? So they're trying to take away all the over-the-top stuff, trying to take away explosive plays, because that's really the only way Arizona gets back into this football game. But yeah, I mean, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more sustained run game tonight, Kevin, because it felt like the run game was working, and then we all of a sudden just move off of it, right? And then you'd be like, why? Mahdi was carrying it well on that drive, and I know you're like trying to win the football game, but part of me was just like, at what point do we just want to see some like sustained offensive success just to like see? It's like almost like trying to see a couple makes go in, Kevin, at the end of like a bad basketball game, where you're just like, let's just use this as like a trampoline to get into the next game.
No, yeah, and I was talking to somebody on Twitter about this as well. Like, it reaches a point in a loss where you just want to see some, like you said, you just want to see one go in. You just want to see something that has you go, okay, that's something we can build on next week. But really offensively, outside of Ismail Mahdi, there really wasn't that today, right? And like you're talking about, seeing one go in and having something to go into the Oklahoma State game with. And that was one thing that we all assumed that would not be a problem for Arizona in this game, even if they lost, right? By, let's say, 2 touchdowns in this one, you would have assumed that they made a good account for themselves and that going into the Oklahoma State game, it's like, well, you played Iowa State on the road. That's a tough one. Noah Fifita looked okay and Ismail Mahdi looked good and the receivers showed some improvement. The O-line increased their discipline. But we're only really talking about the O-line and Ismail Mahdi building off their performances so far this season. A lot of areas on this team regressed during the bye week, and I know that you're going on the road to Iowa State, and I know that that's probably a lot of why we saw so much regression. But it is one of those things where it's frustrating to feel like the team is going to be more prepared for this one, and then they come in and the receivers are just simply out of sync with Noah Fifita. Noah Fifita, who ordinarily is incredibly accurate, is throwing behind guys for pretty much all 4 quarters. Yeah. Right? You and I are watching these incompletions like that one was behind him. Could have been caught, but that one was behind him. Right? And then even the ball to Chris Hunter, right, which was hit right in his chest, he still turned and falling backwards.
Throw, yeah.
Yeah, he still put it behind him. And yeah, it was a weird look for this Arizona offense. And you tweeted about it, but this is really the first time outside of the Nunu Watley pass where it's like Seth Daigie's not perfect. Right, Seth Daiggie has some flaws, has some things to figure out with this offense, and item on the docket number 1 is getting Noah Fifita in sync with these receivers.
Yeah, certainly, because there is something awry here in the passing game, and I know that that's a really good team, and we talked about the Iowa State defensive backs, right? Like that's one of the best units in all of college football, not just the Big 12. Not just on this football field tonight, but in all of college football, those Iowa State DBs are up there with the best of them. So, it makes a little bit of sense. Like, it's a tough game to go in there and pass the rock around. I think that's part of the reason we were so much like Arizona needs to be in this game from the jump, and they need to run the football effectively. Because if they got down, it seemed like it was going to be hard to claw your way back into it, just with how good and how sound Iowa State's defense and their defensive mentality is, right? So, I think that's where putting yourself behind the 8 ball so early on is so harmful because this is not the type of team where you're going to be able to make a comeback against them. Like there are teams that are like that. You know what I mean? Like there are teams out there that are very, very good, but they'll allow you to put some points on the board in a flurry, right? Like I think even we saw it Utah against Texas Tech. I'm not to say Utah's defense is incredible because they are, but Texas Tech put up about 3 touchdowns in 1 quarter against them.
Yeah, I think less than a quarter.
Even a team like Baylor, who I know their defense is awful, but like you can go toe to toe with Baylor and get down in a game and still have a chance at winning that football game. Iowa State's a different animal, and I think that's where you needed a fast start tonight. You didn't get it, and really early on, it was pretty clear who was going to win this one. We're going to hit our first break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast, and after break, we're going to give out a King of a Mountain, I guess. We're going to give out some post-game Week 4 accolades, I guess. And we'll do that right after the break here in 30 seconds. Guess it's more like 2 minutes, Kevin, not 30 seconds.
Something like that. It's something like that. But if you want to relax after this horrific Arizona Wildcats football loss, Zen Leaf Dispensary is the place to be. And if you are, gearing up for the next game against Oklahoma State or just trying to unwind after this Iowa State loss, Zen Leaf is your go-to spot for cannabis, flower, vapes, edibles, and more, with all the brands that you do trust. With locations across the valley, Chandler, Gilbert, North Phoenix, and more, it's easy to swing by before kickoff or order online after the game and after your team is lost for express pickup post-workout or work or post-game. And then also, don't forget, for a limited time, you can get 50% off with our code ZEN, PHNX. That's half off of a one-time purchase. You can go load up to get over this loss, and we'll get you 50% off with code ZEN, PHNX. That's ZEN, PHNX for 50% off your first order. Zen Leaf, great weed, great service every time.
Love our friends at Zen Leaf. Craziest promo code I think we have here at PHNX Sports. And of course, I got to talk to you guys about Brandon Bills because I don't know if you guys noticed, any of you guys that watched the pregame show, I made a little bit of an outfit change going into this one. I had to put my Brandon Bills cap on for the postgame show because these things are fly. I mean, we love a good Brandon Bills hat. So comfortable on your head. The campus collection is the best college sports headwear collection in all of headwear, really. And we love our friends over at Brandon Bills. They're a local company out of Mesa, Arizona. Our promo code of BBPHNX, it can get you 15% off your first order at BrandonBills.com. Whether it's a trucker, a snapback, a fitted, a beanie, even a t-shirt, Brandon Bills is the ultimate custom apparel. They're also the ultimate college apparel, as I mentioned. They have so many great Arizona Wildcats pieces of apparel to buy, Kevin. We love our Brandon Bills Arizona Wildcats collection. That bookstore has so many sweet lids. And honestly, I'll say it just because we have a ton of these people, ton of these creeps in our chat right now. They got some decent looking ASU hats as well. So head on over to BrandonBills.com, type in promo code BBPHNX, and get 15% off your first order. Speaking of you creeps, please leave a like on this video, even if you're here to bask in our sadness and our depression. It still helps us out a lot. And to the point of who said it earlier? I think it was Bees saying, like, this is, if you dish it, you have to take it a little bit. And this is a situation where we acknowledge that, and we can. I think Kevin and I are grown adults, and we're willing to take a couple bullets here when you guys want to throw them our way. Although I will challenge any of these ASU fans who are here to specifically wallow in my sadness, Kevin, to find what they're so angry that I said, because I didn't really say anything that was that like crazy about ASU ever. I have ASU as the third best team in the conference going into the week. I'm probably going to bump them up to second on Monday, to be honest with you. I think ASU is maybe the best team in this conference. Texas Tech might have something to say about it. I've been fairly reasonable. I think people just don't like some of the things that I say rather than they disagree with them.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I also think, like, you had someone on your power rankings come back at you and be like, this list is insane, where you had, like, ASU at 6, TCU
I had ASU
at 5.
at 5, and I had U of A at 9. And now I'll be dropping U of A to 11 in my newest power rankings, unless Colorado gets the W here, and then I would have some tough decisions to make.
What is the score of that game?
I am checking right now, Kevin.
Chance for someone who maybe, oh no.
14-3 Colorado, and they have the football. I told you this was a trap line, man. I told you that game was a trap waiting to happen. That didn't make any sense.
You did.
6.5 made no sense.
You did. But speaking of, I guess, while we're on the topic of my poor takes and every wrong thing I've ever said, can we talk about my keys to this game, Damon?
Yes.
Because
real quick, I just want to say to Bees, and I don't mean to derail the show, Kevin. I apologize.
You're good. No, you're all good.
I was at the game, and I tweeted that 3.5 quarters into the game, and it was a library for 3.5 quarters. Just because it was a half quarter of actually good fan experience doesn't mean that the rest of the game didn't happen. I was there. I watched it with my eyes. Continue. I apologize.
For the record, I agree with you on that one. But my keys to the game, guys, they kind of went 3 for 3. And I think that means that is this the worst set of keys to ever be on a set of keychains to ever exist?
I don't know what locks those are unlocking.
If you go 3 for 3 on the keys and you get blown out by 25, I think I got to reevaluate my methods, Damon.
Kevin, some are calling it the worst performance of the night.
Oh, we're going to get to my bets because I think I have a worse performance. I think I got a worse performance for you in that section. To be fair,
my bets are pretty nasty as well. I have the under in this one, and that's looking okay right now. But we're 0 for 2 so far. Also, shout out Patrick Brown, who is here in the chat.
Yes.
Iowa State fan Patrick Brown, who also works for our company. If you guys are not subscribed to the PHNX Sports daily newsletter that Patrick does every single day for our company, it's so great. It keeps you up to date with everything that's happening inside of the local sports with all of the teams. Pat does a great job just like really culminating all like the information with everybody. He'll even throw in like a Arizona women's soccer did this last night. Like he is very informed, very up to date. And he says here, Tech, Iowa State, ASU, which I was my power rankings going into the week. Ball nowhere. But I might flip 2 and 3 this week. We will see. But yeah, it's a really fun conference. despite Arizona's mishaps and them not being nearly, good enough to compete with the top. I still am fired up to be in this Big 12 and just the way that these games go. It's even with ASU winning, and obviously I'm rooting for TCU last night. By the way, shout out the Bet365 up 17 early payout option. Cash me out, Bet365. Horned Frogs money line. It wasn't even a loss. That's why we're on Bet365. Yeah, right there. But it's just such a fun conference. These games are so incredible, and This was not as much though tonight.
No, not at all, Damon. And I feel like we should just get this one out of the way. Hit our by the numbers real quick. Presented by Desert Financial Credit
Let's
Union.
do it.
Keeping your numbers straight with DFCU. These are disgusting. I'm not going to lie to you. 39-14 final score. Arizona, like Damon alluded to, passes the ball dramatically more than Iowa State, but for less yardage. 253 to 288 in that category. Arizona also outrushed by Iowa State, 111 to 103. Turnovers 2-1. Arizona got 7 points off their turnovers. Iowa State got 0 points off of theirs. Did not matter in the end. Still lost by 25. And you lost the time of possession battle by 3 minutes. This was a ugly one. We don't got to really recap these numbers and ever have them on the screen ever again. But were there any numbers that stuck out to you tonight?
Not really. I mean, just the amount of passing attempts stuck out to me, Kevin. I know I already said that. 48 passing attempts for Noah Fifita. I think that's not a recipe for success at all. Frankly, you need way more balance than that compared to 20 for Rocco Becht, which is unbelievable. I not a ton sticks out to me from a number standpoint. You got your ass kicked tonight. It was belt to ass, and that's what played out on the statistics. And unfortunately, that's what played out on our televisions as well. But let's give out some awards for tonight, because why wouldn't you give out awards on a night you lost by 25? Starting with maybe our King of A Mountain, Kevin?
Yeah, let's do our King of A Mountain. That is Ismail Mahdi, who is, he was the only guy on offense, truly, that showed up with any consistency tonight. 13 attempts, 85 yards, 6.5 on the average. And shout out to the O-line for opening up those holes for Ismail Mahdi. We're going to get to them in a little bit. But yeah, Ismail Mahdi, I talked to you in, I think, the first quarter. Was that with that play in where he kind of stuttered, slowed down, and then went right through the face mask of a defender? Ismail Mahdi, win or lose, that guy's still a psycho.
Yeah,
I still love Ismail Mahdi. He wants the smoke every play. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but his second efforts are really impressive. And I feel like Ismail Mahdi might be one of my, if we do a My Guys draft, he might be on my top to try to get on my team because he's just a psycho. And I love that guy. And he is our King of A Mountain for that reason.
Yeah, he deserves it. No one else deserves it. Trayden Stukes had a big play, and we'll give him his plaudits for that, but not good enough to be the player of the game. Ismail Mahdi was good tonight. Pretty much the only person that you could really say that about, and he deserved better, Kevin. I would say
he did.
That's the number one thing. He absolutely deserved better. What did Josh Espada talking about? Becht didn't even pass for a touchdown. What does that even mean?
I think he's saying that it was a 4-possession game and that Becht didn't even have to.
Did you watch? Genuine question, Josh. Did you watch the game? He threw 2 passes down to the 1-inch line. That one got called a touchdown, returned back to a 1-yard rush, and then didn't he have 2 rushing touchdowns that he punched in himself? 3 rushing touchdowns for Rocco Becht. So what are we even talking about?
Yeah,
I don't even know what that point even proves. Rocco Becht was good passing the football tonight. That's really all that needs to be said.
No, yeah. Rocco Becht was incredibly impressive. He was putting balls in keyholes. It was a great showing for Rocco Becht tonight. We are going to get back to our awards tracker here, Damon, because we have King of A Mountain, but that is also kind of our MVP in this one. Ismail Mahdi takes home our MVP. He is also our offensive player of the game. Defensive player of the game goes to Trayden Stukes, who had a huge interception to get Arizona a possession back in this game. But yeah, Trayden Stukes, that was very happy to see that for Stukes. It feels like he is truly back after his long time away, and he feels like that rust is shaken off. And then transfer player of the game, Ismail Mahdi. Yep. And breakout player of the game, Riley Wilson. He was really impressive tonight. Was not on the injury or availability report, I should say. We, as along with Justin Spears, noted that heading into pregame that was a big time player to have on your roster for this game. And he, I think, proved all of us right in this one, Damon. Do you have anything on our awards tracker or our King of A Mountain here?
Riley Wilson was good tonight. Gets the sack. I don't know if they credited him with that pass deflection or not. It didn't look like maybe he got a piece of it, but I do think he affected the play enough on that. Like his hand was in the way enough of the receiver that it was not a clean catch. So I'll credit him for that as well, even though I think it might go down as a drop. But Riley Wilson was good tonight. That was good to see for sure. I think for the most part, it's just the Ismail Mahdi show. Like I said, he deserved better.
We could have given transfer player of the game to maybe Max Harris, right? He had 8 tackles, 5 solos, but
Chris Hudson
as well,
who had 60 plus yards,
really
a touchdown.
Incredible touchdown catch.
Yeah.
Too.
So, I think there's a couple other names we maybe could have found here, but for the most part, not a lot of top performers from the Arizona side of things. And we got to give it to somebody.
Correct.
So we did.
Correct.
But all in all, Iowa State just kind of, I don't know, like I keep going back to, Kevin, I don't know if you're aware or if you're just, this is too much like footy lore for you that you're not familiar with this moment, but Matt Miazga of the U.S. men's national team did a short joke on Diego Yanez of the Mexican national team where he went like this to him while he was talking to him because he's way taller than him. And I just feel like verbal meme style, like Iowa State just did this to us tonight.
Yeah,
like
they low-broed Arizona
for
sure.
They did like the you're too small. They put their hand on the ground like that. And it's basically what we saw play out for about 60 minutes on the football field.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. They definitely low-broed Arizona in a bunch of different ways. Too small than whatever you want to say in this one. Can we talk about something positive, Damon, tonight? Can we?
Enlighten me, Kevin. Blow my mind, because I can't think of one positive thought. All that's running through my head right now is just negative, crazy emotions. And I mean, honestly, you might have to put me in a straitjacket after the show is over.
Well, can we talk about the O-line for Arizona? Because I feel like the O-line for Arizona, while didn't do anything incredibly special tonight, did not set you back. I believe Ben Wysong in this chat earlier and had the stat of like 0 penalties on the offensive line. Shout out to Uncle Ben. With great power comes great responsibility. But like the offensive line was really good tonight. I know that you and I had a little bit of a back and forth during the game about like, were they really good or were they just like not a detriment to the team? I thought that at points in this game, they were really, really good, right? Like there were multiple times where Noah Fifita drops back and the coverage is excellent downfield on the receivers. And he had all day to find an option, to find some sort of plan B, plan C, plan D, right? Like it wasn't happening with the receivers. It wasn't happening with Iowa State's DBs. But the offensive line gave Noah Fifita every opportunity to succeed in this game. The offensive line gave Ismail Mahdi every opportunity to go be king of A Mountain and go be the real only standout player on offense. Because that unit, and I feel like if we're going to talk poorly about them the way that we have this season so far, because quite frankly, they've deserved it in many ways, we gotta give them the plaudits when they deserve it. Tonight, the offensive line of Arizona deserved it. You say Ismail Mahdi deserved better. I say Ismail Mahdi and the offensive line deserve better tonight, because we should be talking about how, during the bye week, Josh Oglesby and Rhino Tapatotai figured it out, right, during the bye week, and how happy we are about that. But instead, we're on this show talking about special teams disaster, Noah Fifita out of sync with his wide receivers, and now we're getting to the positive plaudits for the offensive line.
Yeah.
It should not be that way. But the offensive line does deserve a salute, as Ben Wysong gave them in the chat, and a bunch of plaudits, because they were good tonight. They were really good. And they showed why they got Big B for the week a couple weeks back in the Big 12. This is a real unit, right? This is a real offensive line unit. It's not like we're the best in the conference, don't get me wrong. But it is when they're not setting you back, they can be quite good, right?
I agree. I think that this offensive line has been better than I think most of us expected them to be going into this year. And that showed like very true tonight, in my opinion, because I thought this was going to be their toughest test of the season from a defensive line standpoint, a physicality standpoint, right? You got damn Big Citrus on the other end that you got to defend up against. Probably the best nickname in sports, by the way. Let's see what else is up there. Hispanic Titanic. I
haven't even heard of that one.
This is a Arizona Diamondbacks minor leaguer who played at Texas, was
That
a really
sounds like
good
a
player
boxer.
at Texas. And that's an unreal. No, he's just like a big first baseman that hits bombs. It's pretty cool. That's got to be up there.
Honestly, Big Poppy's up there.
Big Poppy's good, but that's almost like Big Poppy's retired. Like
Okay,
we're
we're
talking
doing
current
active,
sports.
active.
Yeah.
Okay.
Drop in the chat. What are your favorite nicknames in sports, guys? But Big Citrus, unbelievable. But this offensive line went out there. They performed admirably. They ran the football effectively. Iowa State wasn't, all over Noah Fifita, I didn't think, tonight. Kevin, you mentioned there were multiple times while watching the game that you said out loud to me, like, all the time in the world. You got all the time in the world, Noah. You got all day. No one's coming. And part of that is probably because Iowa State's dropping back, defending the pass primarily and knowing a pass was coming. But also part of that is this offensive line winning their one-on-one matchups and blocking effectively. So I think you got to give the offensive line credit. We came into this season saying, I think these skill players are really good, but this offensive line could hold this offense back. And in this game, it was not that. It was the opposite. The shoe was on the other foot. The skilled players held this offense back, and the coordinator really held this offense back. To be fair, as much as we love Seth Doege on this show, and the offensive line, not as much.
Yeah, and I think, okay, this is, I guess, a conversation that we should probably have at this point, because we've alluded to Seth Doege criticism at the time on this show today, but we haven't really delved too deep into it. How much of the blame do you put on Seth Doege for tonight's offensive performance versus guys just have to play the game?
Yeah.
Noah Fifita has to hit his guys, and when he hits them,
conundrum.
And when he hits them, the guys have to catch the ball, right? So when we were talking about this during the game, there were some plays in particular where you and I are like, don't love the play call there, right? We're not outright upset at the play call. We just didn't love certain play calls, right? Like going one-on-one with Kean Burnett to the end zone instead of maybe finding a different option there. You also had Quincy Craig in the flat on the left on the same side, right? But how much of that do you put on the players? Because I'm almost more inclined to, in this specific game, put more of the blame on the skill position guys and Fifita than I am on Doege. And I know that, he's a coach. He would get on this podcast and say, no, that's actually on me. I got to prepare them better for this game.
Yeah.
And we all have also talked about how they didn't feel like they were super prepared for the defense of Iowa State in this one. But I'm almost blaming the pass catchers more for this offensive performance than I am Seth Doege, even though he did not have a perfect night by any means.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to have seen us try to establish the run way more early. I thought that we would abandon it at times too often. And, on that first drive in particular, you get down the field and then all of a sudden you're throwing a bunch of passes. They're incomplete and you're attempting a 47-yard field goal attempt with a kicker that you have no confidence can make a 47-yard field goal. So for me, that was, I think, a little bit shocking. And there were definitely a lot of times where it would be 3rd and 2, right? And then Arizona is passing the football twice when it's if you're going to go for it on 4th down, why are you not running it on 3rd down? It's little things like that were just kind of making me think man, I guess our sweet boy is not perfect. Like maybe we all hoped and dreamed he would be.
Our sweet boy was playing catch and broke the window.
Yeah,
and
not
now
that's realistic. But I agree. I mean, I agree with you in the sense that I think I'm definitely more of a hold players accountable than hold coaches accountable guy. But as I was saying, with Torey Lovolo, I experience this with D-backs fans all the time. Jake McCarthy could strike out with bases loaded, less than 2 outs to end the season, and he did. And people will come out and be like, Torey lost us this one. And you're like, or the idiot who struck out with less than 2 outs and the bases loaded is the one that, and actually it was a pop fly, not a strikeout. But it's, point stands. I definitely think you have to criticize the people that are out there on the field making the plays. But I don't know. I almost want to go equal share of the blame. I think the pass catchers were horrendous tonight, though. And Noah Fifita, like we talked about, he was inaccurate, which was not, I think we're so accustomed to seeing him be on the money with throws like that. And he was just behind every receiver tonight. So it's hard to really play the blame game for me. I almost want to just go 33, 33, 33, because it felt
that might be fair.
It felt like all three were debilitatingly bad tonight from an offensive standpoint. And the O-line was in Mahdi were the only people doing their jobs. Did Racino play?
I don't believe so. I'm checking right now.
I mean,
he didn't have a rush.
I feel like I'm lost on these availability reports.
The only players that had rushes were Mahdi, Fifita, Craig, and Hudson.
So they don't have to say when a dude's going to be out if he was already out?
Maybe it's a DMP situation where you say he's healthy, but he's just not going to play. but like that wouldn't feel accurate to who Keetrick Ricino is. But yeah, that is strange that he wouldn't have gotten any reps tonight if he was fully healthy. Because I believe it was Philip Schmidt. Correct me if I'm wrong, Philip, but I believe it was him in the chat earlier that said like you just needed a big bruiser tonight. Like, you know what I mean? Ismail Mahdi was doing great with his second efforts, and he was doing great at going about 6.5 yards per pop. But you just needed that guy that when you needed it, like just needed 2 yards on a 3rd and short, you could just hand it to him, and he could go bowling ball somebody up the middle, right? And
it's an interesting discussion because it's like, do you really want to go toe-to-toe with Iowa State playing their game or like trying to out-physical them? But I do think there's an element of like, yeah, it was working. So you definitely should have, because it probably could have closed this game up instead of it being like a 20-point deficit in the first half.
And we're talking about the upset recipe. There's no quicker way to fatigue a defensive line. That Iowa State defense tonight. If I am our guy Travis Clones, first of all they were great, but second of all, a lot of injuries picked up in that defense tonight. Like that, I'm worried about that if I'm an Iowa State fan. But like you said, the defense was great, and if there's no quicker way to tire out a defense than run right through their face masks, right? Play after play. And I think if Arizona had more of a physical mix in the running game tonight, maybe they would have stuck to it for more. Maybe Daggy didn't want to exhaust Ismail Mahdi. I don't know what the math there on that one is. But yeah, I kind of like your idea of an equal 33-33 split there, Damon, on the blame game for the runners, or for the lack of production in this offense. One more note of positivity before we get to our horrendous bets to end today's show. The schedule coming up is still favorable, guys. Like the Arizona schedule has not changed just because they got blown out by Iowa State, right? Maybe our expectations of what they could do within the parameters of that schedule have changed, but you're looking at a schedule of Oklahoma State coming up next, at home, right? BYU at home. That's a tough game because their defense is so good. Now, I haven't checked the score, but by Damon's face when I asked earlier, they're probably getting blown the doors off of their program right now tonight by Colorado.
It's 14-10 now, right before halftime.
Okay. But yeah, BYU, that's a really tough game. That defense is real deal.
And Bear Bachmeier looks pretty good actually right now. He's 9 for 13, 101 yards, 1 touchdown, 7 carries for 48 yards. So he's pretty much been that entire BYU offense thus far.
Okay. And then you have Houston on October 18th on the road. That's a really good competitive matchup between Arizona and Houston. I feel like those are two teams at about the same level in the Big 12. Do you agree?
Houston and who?
Arizona.
Around. I think after tonight's game, though, I'm leaning Houston above Arizona.
Okay. And then you have at Colorado, which is going to be a tough matchup. But as you know on this podcast, never going to pick the Buffs.
I think Arizona can win that game easily.
I think so too.
But Colorado looks good right now.
They do look good.
And you know, I think
the defense is fine.
Yeah, their defense is pretty solid, and Salter definitely gives them the best chance of winning. I have no idea what the hell they were thinking with their quarterback situation.
Dude.
It made zero sense. It's almost coaching malpractice to be like, we're going to switch off between every guy we have on this roster, or you could go with the guy you started with, who is by far the best quarterback that you have. Just a thought.
No, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That game's winnable, but you're right. You're absolutely right. This schedule lightens up a little bit here, and you got to take advantage of it. Starting with Oklahoma State. And BYU, I mean, as much as their defense is great, they're so beatable.
Yeah.
Especially at home, especially with a true freshman quarterback. So, I think this is, on the horizon, better times, hopefully. Hopefully next Saturday, we're sitting in this exact same seats here and talking about a big-time blowout W for the Cats. But, Kevin, let's get to our last break here on the AZ Wildcats pod, and after it, we're going to talk about our best bets. Is that what we're calling them? With air quotations, because Kevin and I had losing weeks for the first time this season. But, yeah, we'll talk about all that and more on the other side of this break.
You know what I'll never do, Damon, in my entire life, no matter how bad the loss is? I will never stop repping the U of A. And Rally House has 39 pages last time I checked on their website of gear just like this. Damn. Right? You can rep your squad, the Arizona Wildcats, 24/7 with our friends over at Rally House. It really is the one-stop shop for all of your memorabilia needs. I always say it on this show, but if you're new here, every time I go back home, I gotta stop by Rally House to rep my hometown teams as well as my beloved Arizona Wildcats. And you can find your local Rally House location and shop their entire product assortment online at www.rallyhouse.com. Guys, I'm talking coasters, drinkware, jerseys, posters, board games, I think even as well. Rally House has it all. Check out their exclusive assortment online at www.rallyhouse.com.
Love our friends at Rally House, just getting us fitted up and geared up with the best stuff in the business when it comes to Arizona Wildcats gear. And when it comes to the best of the business for your gas, your thirst stop needs, there's no one like Circle K. Everybody knows it. If you are from Arizona, if you live in Arizona, if you have lived in Arizona, you know that Circle K is essentially on every single corner in this damn state. I think if you're anywhere else in the country, chances are you probably have Circle K's in your backyard as well. We love our friends at Circle K, and their Inner Circle Rewards membership is no joke, Kevin. The savings are right there in front of your face. It's so simple to sign up. All you have to do is download the free app, put an email in, and pick a password, and you are signed up already. It's that simple. It really is that easy. And the money savings are just so in front of your face, man. Whether it's, snack deals, whether it's meal deals, whether it's, getting some deals on your Polar Pops for only 79 cents, or some energy drink deals. Red Bulls, Monsters, always on sale with Inner Circle Rewards program. But of course, the gas savings are the ones that are really to write home about. 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 Phillips. Then after that, you're going to save 3 cents off per gallon every time until you become a premium member, and you'll save 5 cents off per gallon. And let me tell you, folks, those discounts add up. They really, really do. When you start stacking those over the course of a week, a month, multiple months, a year, all of a sudden we're talking big time savings, and Circle K is helping you get it done. Sign up for the Inner Circle Rewards membership now. Download the free app and plug in an email and password. Terms and conditions apply. At participant locations, visit circlek.com for details.
And with all your savings from Circle K, please consider becoming a member, a Supporters Club member, an MVP, potentially even Hall of Fame member to this channel. And we do have, I know you see the emotes there at the bottom right, guys. Breaking news, wee woo, turnover sword emote is coming to MVP members near you very soon, potentially as soon as like Wednesday or Thursday this week. So get very excited, MVPs and Hall of Fame members of the chat, to drop that turnover sword anytime Arizona gets a turnover here in this chat. But yeah, if you do support the content we do here, please consider becoming an MVP. It's only $4.99 a month. You literally save that much on gas with our friends over at Circle K when you fill up. So yeah, make sure to check that out. And we got to wrap up this show today, Damon, with, I feel like, a further breakdown of the remaining games on the schedule. We got about halfway through, and I feel like because Arizona, there are about 5 games in there that I feel like are really winnable, and about 3 that terrify the hell out of me, right? Going through those games that I feel like are really winnable: Oklahoma State, Houston, Kansas, Colorado, Cincinnati. Now, when I say really winnable, there's like tiers to that, right? Kansas, I would say Kansas and Cincinnati, based on what we saw today, those are, you really got to show up. You really got to show up for those games. Houston, you could even say as well, is in that tier. I think Colorado, Oklahoma State, those are 2 teams I think if you just play your game, you should be able to beat those 2 teams pretty easily. And the 3 games that absolutely terrify me: Baylor, ASU, BYU. Now, you might be like, why BYU? We talked about BYU. The only reason it terrifies me is because we saw what Noah Fifita and this offense looked like tonight when a defense was able to get them out of sync, right? And if there's a defense that is on the rest of the schedule that can do that, it'd be BYU's, in my personal opinion, right? So I feel like that one scares me a lot because of the defense of BYU, less than, Arizona gets boat raced. That doesn't really scare me in that one, but it scares me that they could potentially have an offensive showing like they did tonight, where Noah Fifita might have all day, but the coverage is so good and he just can't find guys, and it's hard for them to make catches, and no one's stepping up to make plays.
It'll be tough sledding offensively for sure against BYU. There's no question about that. I think for me, my confidence comes in the way that I think that this defense is pretty good. Even though we give up 39 tonight, I don't really put the blame on the defense at all.
No help from your offense or special teams.
I mean, they're putting you in horrible positions constantly. You got 2 interceptions against you. You, of course, have terrible special teams units that are just killing you constantly and deflating all the momentum that your team could build. I think our defense is good enough to just kind of keep that one tight in general, but I agree with you. It's going to be tough sledding on offense because as currently constituted, our offense is not good enough to score against BYU's defense. But really, Kevin, I know you said you're scared of Baylor too, and I get it to an extent, but that's a very beatable team, and that's a very winnable game at home as well. Like, outside of ASU, I think all these games on paper are extremely winnable. All seven of the upcoming games are. I mean, Oklahoma State, you need to win that game. We've already established that. BYU at home, that's winnable. We all know it's winnable. Houston on the road, that's tough. I'm leaning towards Houston probably. It gets the job done there, but not all that inspiring of a Houston performance this week as they only beat Oregon State, a bad Oregon State team, by 3 points. Colorado on the road. What Colorado team are you getting, as Shane says in the chat? Like, they got pieces, but they just don't put it together. Kansas at home, like, there have been times where Kansas is like, man, I can't believe we got them on the schedule. And other times where you're like,
oh, we got them.
Kansas just shoots themselves in the foot. So, I think that game's up in the air. They could easily come into town and tear us a new one. But I think that game is absolutely winnable. And then Cincinnati on the road. Like, Brendan Sorsby made a fool out of me this weekend, but he's still not like some world-beating quarterback. I don't know. I feel good about these next 7 games, and I still think I'm very confidently feeling like Arizona still makes a bowl game.
I am extremely confident that Arizona makes a bowl game. For the record, like, when I say that those 3 games terrify me, it's not really me quantifying the chances of Arizona winning those games, but it's the 3 games that I've pinned the most of, like, that's the steepest hills for you to climb the rest of the way.
Totally.
Right?
I
think,
with you. Like, all of these games are kind of hard a little bit.
Yeah.
Other than Oklahoma State, every other rest, like, as much as I can sit here and say out of 7 of the next 8 games feel extremely winnable, 7 of the next 8 games also feel extremely losable.
Correct.
So it's not like it's not the other side of the coin as well, to keep going back to that same analogy, Kevin. But
we got a bunch of coins tonight.
Lots of coins tonight. Lots of cheeks tonight too.
Oh, too many cheeks.
That was all we saw on our screen apparently. But appreciate everybody for being here in the chat and rocking with us. I know it's a tough game for some of you. I know some of the perverts in the chat, though, are having a good time, including you, Shane Diefenbach, maybe the king of said creeps, who, by the way, Kevin, Shane Diefenbach, who, how could you guys get so nasty when ASU loses a football game, but ASU fans are dunking on you guys in the chat tonight? Does it not? It only applies to when we're nasty, or ASU fans? They're not. That doesn't count when they're nasty. I'm just trying to get on the right page here.
I think you're calling a spade, brother. That's all. You're calling a spade a spade.
Or can we just admit that we both fan bases have fun when the other team loses, and that really none of us are better than the other person or the other fan base here.
Wow.
Two sides of the same coin, Kevin.
Wow. That was beautiful. That was beautiful, Damon. What a way to round this out. We started out coming in hot, a little negativity on the special teams, a little negativity on the
Oh, here's where you're wrong, Matt. I wasn't trying to dunk on ASU after that Mississippi State loss. I did dunk on ASU after the Mississippi State loss. Poster, back scratcher, right on your head. And you guys were eating it up too. Eating it up. But ASU does have a very, very good football team, and Mississippi State seems like they're actually pretty solid.
Should have beat Tennessee today.
Did they not win?
No.
Oh, wow. What a disaster.
Yeah, blew it. Yeah.
Damn, I thought they were going to win.
They did. Let me double check. But I'm pretty sure
they're
lost.
Still a pretty solid team. To be able to go toe-to-toe with number 15 in Tennessee, I mean, you're a good team. Yeah. As much as we had fun with that game, I still think ASU is very good.
Yeah, ASU is going to be just okay. ASU is going to be just okay. They gave their fans much reason to worry. They had us in the first half, I'm not going to lie, but they're rounding it out. They're figuring it out.
How many wins for Kansas State this year until that win starts being respected, Kevin? Because we will hit that threshold at some point this season. I just want to know which threshold we have to reach here.
I'm looking at their schedule right now, and I don't know, dude. The problem with that though is the taste in people's mouths from early in the year, the first 4 weeks or so, it's so bad.
I mean, they were playing a lot in like nationally televised games too, which doesn't help in terms of making you look like a joke.
All right, so they got Baylor on the road.
I mean, they do have a tough schedule.
That's brutal.
Say.
Versus TCU.
They play pretty much every good Big 12 team
Kansas,
except for ASU.
That's brutal. Versus Tech. That's brutal. Hey, you get to play on the road to Oklahoma State. Woo! Continue your road trip to Utah. And then play Colorado to
I'm just going to kind of just slowly walk that one back.
Yeah, that one may never become
I think Kansas State might win 3 football games this season.
Legitimately.
They're going to be a tough out, though. They're going to be a tough out. You guys will respect that win. Maybe not really.
I don't think anyone's going to love that win ever.
We got some post-game sound, Kevin, from Brent Brennan. He says, I think we can play better. This game was a big-time measuring stick game for us, and it was a harsh one. It hurts. And that's Brent Brennan on how the Wildcats failed to stack up against Iowa State via our guy Justin Spears, and then via AZ Bandcat Sports. We got quarterback Noah Fifita up on the podium saying, losing is always difficult, but there's a lot to learn from it. We've got to be able to start faster. I'll eat this one.
What else do we really expect them to say after this one? You know, I feel
they're reiterating a lot of the same stuff that we're saying up here. This was a big time measuring stick game, big time reality check game,
and that's why you come to our pod.
We kind of got sunned. And then Noah Fifita, I think as we were saying, Kevin, like he'd be the first to tell you that he was inaccurate tonight, that he didn't play his best game tonight. I think that's leadership. Like it certainly wasn't all on Noah Fifita, but he was definitely part of the problem. Whether that makes us sad or not. Like I know we all are big time Fifita fans and we want him to just be the best, right? Like he's given so much to this university and stuck around when he didn't have to. And like, I do think that we can be fair and criticize him when he deserves criticism though. And tonight he deserved that criticism and he says so.
Yeah, no, he did deserve some criticism tonight. Not like a crazy amount of criticism, but he did deserve the criticism, specifically that you and I were levying about the inaccuracy, the lack of sync with his receivers, and that does fall on three parties, as we already alluded to, Damon. Do we have anything else before we wrap it up today? Is there anything we have not yet to cover? Oh, the all-red jerseys.
Man.
The jersey matchup in this one was pretty beautiful. Now, the football was pretty ugly for the majority of this game, but it looked good. The all-red versus the all-white and black was really cool, really good look. Also, while the ASU fans are here in our chat, this really has nothing to do with the rivalry, but I think we can all collectively shake hands and say the trident should have been black and white last night, or at least black and yellow to match the blackout. They did the end zones, got lazy with the center field. And to people that were like, well, you have to register an alternate logo to put it on the field. The logo on the helmet was black and yellow, so I don't want to hear it. They ruined it, but Iowa State did it right? The black and white end zones, black and white logo, and yeah, it looked really cool. The whiteout was cool. The atmosphere was awesome in Iowa State. It looked like Justin Spears out there eating pork just by the hand at the tailgate. Shout out to Travis Clones, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, could have been a beautiful night, but it was an ugly night of football. The jerseys, fire. Helmet stickers sticking around, that's fire.
Thumbs up.
I also like that they did a little bit of a different colorway for the helmet stickers as well, Damon. It was like a darker, like one to match the helmet and stuff. Anyway, but yeah, jersey matchup was fire.
It was. And Iowa State, shout out their fans. They've been pretty nice, pretty cool. I think if I had to make like a opposing Big 12 fan bases hierarchy, Kevin, I think they would be at the absolute top of my rankings. Just in terms of my interactions with them, it's almost like you just lost to your friends. You say GGs, and you shake hands, and you move on.
Really hospitable group.
And we will move on to talking about Oklahoma State all week next week because we don't want to focus too much more on this game, unfortunately. On Monday, we're going to be doing our Big 12 power rankings. ASU fans, how high will we have the Sun Devils? Is Kevin going to continue to be disrespectful about the ASU Sun Devils? Because guess what, guys? I know we all want to hate Damon and point fingers at him, but there's another man that's sitting right next to me on this screen, and he's been much, much nastier among this season. I think at least. Hey, I had a nasty night last night, but I also said some nice things about ASU last night, to which I got zero responses to, which shocker. But in general, I think you've been much nastier.
I've just been lower on them based on the performances that they've given us so far.
U of A above ASU in your power rankings, Fifita above Levitt in the QB rankings, which I might have had to now that I look back on it. But
those are outdated now, though. We don't got to worry about that. They're going to be higher. They were higher in the power rankings this past Monday. The quarterback was higher in the power rankings this past Monday.
You know what, Kevin? Mistake on my part. I will continue to be the proverbial shield for this fine program because that's who I am as a person. If you want to continue to say crazy-ish about ASU and go out there and continually, say that they're overrated and Levitt sucks and all this stuff, and it to come back and fall upon me, I'm willing to be that guy for us. Because that's how much I love you, brother.
I will say.
How much, bring it in here. Bring it in here, my guy. That's my guy right there.
I love you too, man. But also, I will say this. It is objectively, and maybe, I don't want this smoke particularly, but, like, it is interesting how, like, I criticize ASU, and people are like, yeah, that's a U of A guy criticizing ASU.
Come here, sweet child.
And then you criticize ASU, like, once.
You effing donkey.
Yeah, and then it's literally that. That's a second verbal meme. Ding, count it right there. Yeah, I don't know. It's all good. We'll see if ASU fans notice what I'm saying at all this season. But to be honest, like, I've just kind of been keeping it real. They played like garbage to start the season. Sam Levitt played like garbage to start the season. At no point did I say they can't turn it around. At no point did I say they can't win the Big 12 Conference. They were underwhelming to start the year, and now they are turning it back around. That is the story of ASU football right now this season. It's going to continue to unwind and unravel and unfold, and we're going to see where it ends up. Maybe it ends up with another Big 12 title. Maybe it doesn't. But yeah, I feel like I've just been keeping it real. You could argue I think I've been maybe a little too reactive from week to week. But I think when there's not a lot of games, what other choice do you really have, right? Like when you haven't played that many games and you've only given me 3, well, I guess now 4 performances, like what am I supposed to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I get it, man. I get it. I think, to an extent you've been fair by everything that you said out loud. I don't necessarily even have I agreed with everything that you've said in regards to Arizona State this season and your takes with them. But like I said, I'll continue to be the human shield that this podcast needs to be when it comes down to it, because that's just who I am as a person, Kevin. Right here, it's right here. It's me and you.
Yeah,
in the pocket.
It's you and me.
But appreciate everybody for being here tonight. I know we had a lot of nasty, disgusting trolls in here, but you guys are still good people too in my eyes, and I'm sure. We would. I'm sure if we were able to shake hands and get in person, we would be acquaintances, if you will. But online, you guys are nasty individuals. But Kevin, anything else before we get out of here tonight? It's been a good one, despite the horrific loss, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll just say it was a really fun post-game show. I always appreciate coming in, talking ball with each and every one of you, even the ASU fans that want to talk bad about my guy Damon, who's a good person. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
I promise I'm actually a nice guy in real life.
It was a great show.
Despite my Twitter personality.
It was a great show. The special teams were bad, and we can talk more about that on Monday. But yeah, great show. Go Mercury tomorrow. Lord, please deliver us a Mercury W tomorrow, and that's all I got to say to wrap up the show. Take care of everybody, you know what I mean? Leave a like and drink water, Damon, and we can wrap this one up.
Yeah, leave a like, drink water, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, rate and review on your favorite podcasting platform, and appreciate everybody for being here and rocking with us on an Arizona versus Iowa State postgame show. We're going to be back on a Monday at 2 p.m. We'll be doing power rankings, and we'll be giving respect where respect is due when it comes down to it, Kevin. Sadly, unfortunately, the trolling might be dead.
It was a good 3-week run. It was a great 3-week run. Is life
even worth living anymore?
It was an incredible 3-week run of ASU trolling, but now they're good again.
They're good again. And we suck again.
And we're bad again.
And we suck again. And it's the AZ Wildcats podcast. Thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. We appreciate all of you guys at home. Like I said, drop a like on this video. Follow my guy Kevin at KevoPost. That's KevoPosts. Follow me at Damon Dog if you want to argue with me and tell me I'm the worst and how good ASU is. It's DAWG on the end of that one. And you can, of course, follow us at PHNX_Wildcats on all socials. But shout out everybody tonight. Not shout out the Arizona Wildcats because they were pathetic. And we will be back on a Monday to do power rankings. Until then, peace out, bear down.
And go Cats and Mighty Mercury, please win tomorrow. Don't look like these Wildcats, I swear.
We all silly like the mayor.